I'm sorry it's been a little while since the last offering, but a number of things have been going on, and I have one or two things that I'd like to talk to you about. The first one is the idea of coming home. This is really very prevalent in people who are near to death. It's experienced as a coming home. We know that from the near-death experience, when you come back, you feel that you've been somewhere where you've been accepted, where you're loved for what you are, not for anything else. And so the whole process is coming home. Now, there's a little bit more data on this, and I'm going to show you in a moment the URL of a doctor who's been in palliative care and also in intensive care. So he's had a lot of people who have come back after they've been unconscious for some time. And he talked very persuasively in his video about coming home. And what I would like you all to do is to look at his URL. You can copy it off the screen after this talk, and just listen to what he has to say about coming home. Well, here's Zach Bush, MD, a palliative care physician who has got great experience of people coming back after they've been unconscious and dead or near death. And he talks about coming home. I've put up for you the URL of his video that he's made, and I would suggest that you listen to it, because you get a wonderful feel for what people are like after they have been unconscious for a long period of time and then come back again. Okay. Well, what does coming home really mean? It means feeling perfectly accepted for what you are, loved for what you are. And remember that we've already seen that as you come up to death, then you become non-dual, or about 80% of people do, although I suspect that everybody does. And at that point, you feel loved and reinforced. And the question that he was asked by the people who he had brought back was, why did you bring me back? Why did you bring me back? And a lot of them were coming back to fairly normal lives, and a number of them, of course, will have had their own relatives that loved them dearly, but still they were saying, why did you bring me back? And this is because of the intensity of the love that we feel in that state. Now, the reason for this is that we are not what we think we are. And in fact, I have been pointing out in some of the early videos that the fundamental question for us is, who are we? Are we this protoplasmic thing here or not? And the answer to that is no, we're clearly not. We are clearly part of the universe, but in a very, very specific way. And on the web there are a number of people who are now talking about this. And there is one video, a TEDx talk in fact, that suggests that chromosome 2 of our 24 chromosomes has been fused and altered intentionally. And that would be in about, I don't know, about 200,000 years ago, when mankind started to become emancipated and took this evolutionary leap that we took. Now, if this is true, then it means that something very special happened to us then. And how can we tell apart from indirect evidence like that? But there is another way. And that is when we get these very broad and wide experiences of transcendence, when we feel ourselves to be one with the universe. I was talking the other day to a group about tree bathing. And tree bathing is when you walk through a forest and you feel, don't see, feel the intensity of the trees that you're walking in between. It's the Japanese call it tree bathing, and it's a very comforting experience. Now, the interesting point about that is, why do we have this similarity with the trees? Why can we appear to feel this comfort when walking through a forest? Well, it's only because we must have something in common with the trees. And I have very little doubt that once you know who you are, then you will understand that we're all part of the same consciousness throughout the world. We're not different from anybody else. And thus coming home is a very important point, because it means that we have come into what we truly are, which is much wider than the feelings that we have of being an isolated person in this world. So again, death and how we live is enormously important. So we have to find out who we are. I was very lucky because I've had a deep experience, and in that experience I learnt some fundamental things about the nature of my consciousness, and many of you will have done this as well. So it means that one should not be afraid of death. And of course there have been so many deaths with COVID-19, and many of you will in fact probably have lost somebody who you love. But don't worry about this, because in fact they are okay. And the data that we have, particularly in deathbed coincidences, when they're dying on their way from their body to wherever they're going, say, it's okay, don't worry. And of course after-death communications, which we haven't done at all, also indicates that this is true. So if you can, when somebody who you're close to dies, speed them on their way. Lots of good thoughts and prayers and support for them while they're actually dying, if you know them well and you can hold their hand, which of course people couldn't do with COVID-19. It's very important and very reassuring for them. And remember the word that you must have as you die: be curious. And that attitude on your part means that you suffer much less while you're doing the cleaning, which we have to do before we come up to death. Mental cleaning, of course, that's giving up attachments. So I thought that you would like to see that video, and just to hear that what I have been saying, in fact, is part of our universal experience. And the other point is that I would also like to do something else with you. I've come across an article by Larry Dossey, who is a very famous physician in the States, in which he looks at ideas relating to the near-death experience of the world. Now, this has been going on since the 1980s, but he's brought it very nicely up to date. We might have a look at that next time. At any rate, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sorry Casper isn't here to say goodbye to you, but I think he's probably upstairs because I'm in Scotland, and although you can see this light outside, in fact, this is just because Scotland in the evenings has very prolonged light. Okay, so nice seeing you, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.